Hi,
Hi, how are you?
and welcome to International Poetry Day. I'm really delighted to be doing this with poet Nell Regan. And first of all, I'm going to talk about how we met because I haven't done that for ages. We met on a thing called the International Writers Course. I don't even want to say what year it was, but I think it was about 2001. And
Some
we were the
time ago.
youngest people on it, so it must have been some time ago. Yeah, yeah. And since then, we've kept in touch over the years. And then recently on Culture Night, we decided we'd attempt a collaboration of some of Nell's amazing poems and some music underneath.
And as Mary was saying, we did actually go on to share a house together. And we used to joke about hosting an evening with Mary and Nell from our sitting rooms, which is in fact what we're doing tonight. So settle in, we're going to have some short live performances and a screening of the videos. And I'm going to introduce Mary. So Mary Barnicott is a Dublin-based musician who works with a variety of artists, bands, orchestras and educational projects. She's composed music, including the musical String Play for the Ark with her sister Catherine and Matthew Jacobson. She's going to play Raft for us, which is on her SoundCloud and will also be on her second album, which she is halfway through recording. Mary.
Thanks, Nell. In faraway harbors, you build a raft, push the body out to sea, lay you down on a raft of driftwood, and we push the body out to sea. Come home. Come home. And I salute you from the shallows, wading out. I watch the lantern shine and fade. We brought you, we washed you, we made you holy, and we pushed your body out to sea. Come home. Come home. And there will be no exalted rescue, and there will be no litany of your treasure, and there will be no sound except the sea, sigh, cry, wave on wave, no sound except the shore. Come home. Thank you. And thanks for that introduction, Nell. I'm now going to introduce Nell to you. She's going to read a few poems. So I met Nell a good while ago, and since then she's got 3 very successful books of poems, which are Preparing for Spring, Bound for Home, which are both with Arlen House, and One Still Thing, which was out in 2014. She has won the Patrick and Catherine Kavanagh Fellowship, Arts Council Literature Bursaries, and she was a fellow at the International Writers Program in Iowa. And her biography, Helena Maloney, A Radical Life, was a 2017 Irish Independent Book of the Year. She works as a freelance educator, literary curator, and her translation from the Japanese of Oyuga's 100 Poems, 100 Poets is due out from Daedalus Press soon. So without further ado, I'm really looking forward to hearing Nell Regan-Reid. Nell.
Cheers, Mary. Thank you. I'm going to read, actually, the first poem I'm going to read is, it's called How to Destroy a Memorial, and it was written in memory of the wonderful murdered Maltese journalist Daphne Caruana Galizia. And today, Poetry Ireland, there's a wonderful project called Writing or Letters with Wings for Prisoners of Conscience. So I wanted to read that sort of for prisoners of conscience, but also in memory of Daphne Caruana Galizia, and there were flowers and candles left in Valletta, in the capital of Malta, but they were regularly destroyed by the authorities. But PEN International actually created a poetry memorial for Daphne. How to destroy a memorial. The yellow-throated crocus will still speak out. Wax will keep its vigil in the hive. Into the ear of each wave, the sea daffodil whispers your name. The torn messages begin to hum. The gregal carries news on the wires of its breath. The leaking ink stains each grain of sand, which strafe the face of Valletta, stick as grit in its eye, keeping the throat raw. The second poem I want to read is actually not one of my own. It's actually one of Eavan Boland's poems. And of course, Eavan Boland sadly passed away, and shockingly passed away on Monday. And I think Poetry Day today is dedicated to her. So this is one of my favourite and one of her most famous poems, and it's called Outside History. Eavan Boland. There are outsiders always. These stars, these iron inklings of an Irish January, whose light happened thousands of years before our pain did. They have always been outside history. They keep their distance. Under them remains a place where you found you were human, and a landscape in which you know you are mortal, and a time to choose between them. I have chosen. Out of myth into history I move to be part of that ordeal whose darkness is only now reaching me from those fields, those rivers, those roads clotted as firmaments with the dead. How slowly they die as we kneel beside them, whisper in their ear, and we are too late. We are always too late. And Eavan Boland. So I'm going to introduce now our first video, which is called Leader. Leader. Here is a little song to comfort you. Sing it to yourself softly, simply, just as you are. Robert Schumann to Clara Schumann, July 1840. His scent still rose off my skin. My pores exuded the impress of his hand, and my throat whimpered want when the bouquet of songs arrived, bound by a single chord which I plucked, spilling sheaves, all their cadent, radiant content. I his rapture, I his pain, he mine. He said light hit the water like a cadenza that day, but his soul could not resist the shadows of the bridge, its counter melody. Now, as behind me each door slams, bolts, I only meet what beats in him, in the tremolo of my larynx, or the dark corridor of the keyboard.
and that was Leader. So I'm just going to introduce, that was a collaboration that Nell and I did, based on our Culture Night collaborations. We decided while we were locked down here, we'd put them together in a jam and make a few videos. So that's number one.
Sorry, I'm just trying to get my camera angle.
You look beautiful.
No, I loved. How did you approach the composition for that one, Mary? I love that one.
Because you say it's a simple song at the beginning, I thought I'll do something really quite simple and waltz-like, because when I think of the Schumanns, I do think of that era and the waltzes, and so I just put something really simple into 3/time, and yeah, it's a really, really beautiful poem. I mean, what was it that drew you to Clara and Robert Schumann and their relationship?
Oh, I remember I think I was doing a pitch actually for a libretto to put together all of the Leader, and I didn't get the pitch, but I did get a poem out of it. But I remember just being amazed by her, and kind of, I hadn't known about her. I'd known his name, but I didn't realize she was kind of an award-winning pianist and composer in her own right. But I also loved, he'd sent her, when you were saying the little song, he'd sent her all these songs quite quickly at the beginning of their courtship, and sent a little letter saying, here's a little song, sing it softly. So I kind of quote that at the beginning. So I'm delighted actually that's what you picked up on for it. And I think we were going to go on to our next video, which is You Are to Me. Yeah, let's go for it. You are to me, as basil scent is to fingertip, illuminate to manuscript, and ballast is to cargo ship. A slow burn is to charcoal, reception to a mobile, distraction to a 2-year-old. As honey is to raw throat, China is to slow boat, and MP3 is to download. As right change is to bus fare, downy is to mohair, and ergonomics to office chair. As milk is to steeping tea, laughter is to levity, and conquer is to gravity. As oil feather is to bird flight, perception is to second sight, and earth tilt is to daylight. So you are to me.